Shalom. My name is Yehonatan Ben Devoy. This is going to be video 2 on why polygamy needs to be accepted in Torah-compliant communities. Basically, we're going to continue down the line of using inheritance rights and stuff like that, and explaining why, polygamy needs to be accepted inside of Torah-compliant communities, and so on and so forth. The fact is that there is an awful lot of information regarding the commands that endorse it, and so on and so forth. First things first, you heard me point out that, that the command to have an inheritance is given via families. Well, here's that the bigger the family is, the more inheritance you are given. And the smaller the family, the smaller the family, the less inheritance you are given. Well, ultimately, let me illustrate my point regarding why this incentivizes polygamy. What determines a family in that regard? What lawful lines determine a family? It's a good question to bring up. Well, this, if you've gone through my, my videos on inheritances and stuff like that, basically one of the things that I pointed out was that in Numbers chapter 26, hang on, let me get there. Chapter 26, verse 53, it says, and these land portions will be divided up for an inheritance according to the number of names. Well, who establishes the names? In one of my other previous videos, basically one of the things that I pointed out was that men establish the names. And why? Because if you look at every single lineage all across the Tanakh, one of the things you'll see constantly over and over is it names the men. It will always name the men. Why does it always name the men? Ultimately, it names the men because ultimately they are the ones who only establish the name. You will never find a single woman who establishes a name in a lineage. So by determination, we should ultimately determine that only the men establish the names. So, therefore, men are given the rights to inheritances. Only they are. And basically, they are the ones who establish the names per family. So, ultimately, women don't have property as far as what the Tanakh is concerned. There's a means by which a property can be given to a family, can be given to a woman, and that's when it gets into Numbers chapter 27. But that is if, and only if, there is no sons. But other than that, they have to marry a man from the exact same tribe. You see, the fact is, the reasoning why they have to marry a man from the tribe is because ultimately these are ancestral inheritances that are given by family. I mean, ultimately, you can say that there's going to be a bunch of families all within the same tribes, essentially. Is that not valid? So, if they find a man within the same tribe, then ultimately they're going to find the closest redeemer, essentially, to redeem the inheritance, essentially. And then next thing you know, they're going to birth children the closest towards the family, and so on and so forth. This isn't rocket science. Basically, the closest redeemer within the family. So there you go. But ultimately, the when it comes to families in and of itself, women have no rights as far as the families go. And because of the command to be fruitful and multiply, we have to look at families as reproducing units in and of itself. So, because of that specific command to be fruitful and multiply. So, what if, let's say, the Israelite population is 60% women and 40% males? That gets into dicey territory. Ultimately, you have to have 2 to 3 women per one man. Otherwise, they're going to be destitute. Why do you think the Torah goes into constantly saying that, well, hang on, let me get there. Exodus chapter 22. Okay. Thou shalt not vex a stranger or oppress him, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt. If you afflict any widow, any fatherless child, and you afflict them in any wise, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. Why does it list constantly the widows and the fatherless child and the strangers? Because I'll tell you why. They have no claim to inheritances. It's ultimately, they are telling you ultimately that they have no claims to inheritances. And basically they, in order for them to be protected in terms of property and so on and so forth, they have to be within a family. They have to be married to a man in and of itself. The Torah makes this abundantly clear that basically when a woman is a widow, she's not married to a man. If the child is fatherless, he is basically, he's not going to have any claim to any inheritance either. So he's going to live in a city of refuge and so on and so forth. So the only things that actually determine whether or not a family gets an inheritance is if they belong to a man. That's the direction that the laws are going. So ultimately, as far as the Torah is concerned, it is incentivizing more women getting pregnant. And when more women get pregnant, due to one man and so on and so forth, then it's a natural progression to, what was it called? Engage in polygamy. In fact, I would actually go so far as to say that it is a specific command to protect the widows and orphans as well. Anyways, I sure hope that this clears up part of the issue, because we're nowhere near done. The next portion that we're going to deal with is the command to be fruitful and multiply, because there's more information regarding that specific command than meets the whole situation. I sure hope that this study has blessed you. Thank you.